What happened basically was during the Mexican Revolution. In 1917, the Bright Ranch raid happened on Christmas Day, and three people were killed, including the mailman, in kind of a grotesque fashion. So they hung him up from the rafters and cut his throat. Anyway, death is death, right? But didn't sit well with locals, and so within a month, they basically launched a plan to, it seemed like, enact revenge or an act of psychological warfare. And so on a cold night in January of 1918, they came to the village of Porvenir. Who was they? It's vigilante ranchers, Texas Rangers, and they were escorted by the U.S. military, by the cavalry. They came out here in the middle of the night. They roused people out of their homes, separated the men from the women, villages that way, marched them up the road, 15 men and boys, lined them up against that cliff, and murdered them, shot them to death. So what we found on the ground in doing the investigation was basically a victim line, firing line situation. Basically, where we're standing right here, there was a line of cartridge casings right through here that had been ejected from the rifles and the pistols that were firing. Right about there, between halfway, a little closer to the cliff where the flowers are, we did a 1x2 unit, right where there had been a concentration of discoveries of little metal fragments that turned out to be jacket fragments from bullets, and then bullet fragments. And so it really clearly conformed to a victim line, firing line scenario. The big aha and why it hit international news, why it made international news, is because the majority of the artifacts that we found were military. And the military is not supposed to be shooting U.S. citizens. And so that's what caused, it to kind of hit big. We have zero documentary evidence of the military's involvement in the shooting. We do know, it is well known and well established, that they were escorts. They escorted the rangers and the ranchers here. But the story and the prevailing narrative has always been that it was the ranchers and the rangers that did the killing. But what we found on the ground argued strongly otherwise. And it's just kind of an open question, because we have zero corroborating evidence that's on the written record or oral history or anything. And so it's just it's weird. But yeah, it's a really sad chapter in our history, but I was really happy to be a part of recording this and the bigger effort that it created, which was, spin-offs of it, was a documentary and multiple events, including one in Austin, including the descendant families of the victims. And so to me, it felt like a much larger reckoning with our history, with our past, with a really egregious thing that had happened.